When you hear the word sales, what pops into your mind? A pushy used car salesman? A telemarketer who won't stop calling? Maybe you think of slick tactics, manipulation, or pressure to buy something you don't really want. But here's the truth. When done properly, sales is none of that. At its best, selling is simply serving. Selling is about creating the right buying experience, one where the customer feels seen, heard, and genuinely helped. Whether you lead a business, manage a team, or handle everyday interactions, knowing how to sell matters more than most people realize. Let me share a story that perfectly captures what selling by serving really looks like. In his early 20s, a young salesman worked for a custom home builder. The company showcased 3 model homes, each one beautifully designed, filled with luxury and attention to detail. Every sight, sound, and scent was crafted to make visitors imagine themselves living there. The master suites had rose petals floating in the oversized tubs. The kitchens gleamed with state-of-the-art appliances, and the library smelled of rich leather and polished wood. The young man's job was to help families find their dream home. Their welcome center was set up inside what would have been the garage right off the pristine parking lot. Everything about the experience said prestige. Now it was a hot August day, great weather for home shopping, and there were 3 salespeople on duty that day. It was Jess, Roy, and the young man. As cars pulled up, each salesperson took turns greeting visitors. The truth was, they made quick judgments based on appearance. If someone looked like they had money, they got special attention. Then a car pulled up that didn't fit the mold, an old Crown Victoria with no hubcaps. Out stepped a man named Chris, shaggy beard, white t-shirt, jeans with holes, back before we paid extra for that, and flip-flops. The young salesman took one look and thought, this one is just browsing. Now he politely handed Chris a brochure and pointed him towards the models. Now if Chris had looked like a real buyer, he would have given him the full tour. A few minutes later, Chris quietly returned to ask for another brochure. The young salesman, 22 and full of pride, was polite but dismissive. He thought this lead was a waste of time. A week later, Chris came back with his wife and 5 kids, still driving the same car, still wearing simple clothes. Again, the salesman ignored them. He was busy focusing on qualified buyers. But after some time, Chris' wife sweetly asked a few questions about the kitchen. He answered briefly and moved on. Another hour passed, and Chris approached him again, this time asking about the cost of adding a basement to the 2-story model. The young salesman quickly did the math and told him how much that would add to the monthly payment, basically implying he couldn't afford it. Chris paused for a moment and then said, "Is it okay if I pay cash?" Cash? Suddenly, everything changed. It turned out Chris had written software for a startup that had just gone public. His stock options made him a multi-millionaire. He wasn't just a casual visitor, he was ready to buy, and he did. The sales ended up being the largest of the young salesman's entire career. That experience became a turning point. It taught a timeless truth: selling is serving. Selling properly is essential in business and in life. As the great industrialist Henry Ford once said, nothing happens until someone sells something. Everyone is in sales, whether they realize it or not. Teachers sell students on learning. Parents sell their kids on making wise choices. Spouses sell each other on decisions big and small. And in business, no revenue moves until a sale happens. Now, most people see sales as manipulative or pushy, but it doesn't have to be. When sales is done properly, it's one of the most human, relational, and rewarding things we can do. One of the wisest things Zig Ziglar ever said was this: sales is nothing more than a transference of feeling. If you can make the customer feel the same way you do about your product, then they'll buy it. That means sales is really about belief. If you believe in your product, if you genuinely care about your customer, you're not pushing them, you're helping them. Everyone in the company is in sales. Customer service is sales. Shipping is sales. Production and quality control, all sales. Why? Because every single touch point shapes the customer's experience. When the experience is positive, that person becomes a loyal customer, and they bring others with them. That's how business grows through service, not pressure. A great salesperson loves both the product and the customer. When you combine those two, the focus shifts from making a sale to making a difference. The relationship becomes more important than the transaction. That's the heart of selling by serving. When we serve well, intelligently, intentionally, and with integrity, the sale naturally takes care of itself. Because at the end of the day, we don't sell, we serve.